last time I have been speaking about apprenticing ourselves to the particular place where we live, and thinking about even, that the place has claimed us and that's why we are here. I think that's an interesting thought. And asking the land for guidance. And in these Wednesday meetings, we are, considering what we can learn from animals, plants, and landscapes about navigating life at a time, where we are at a threshold and we already intuitively know we need to do things differently, but we are kind of not quite sure how to do it. And, and how our decision making and our wayfinding could potentially transform if we know very much in the depths of our being, that we are embedded in a web of more than human relationships, if we don't have any doubt about that. And I trust, that we can individually and collectively evolve by honing these ancient instincts and expanding our capacity for perception in order to reestablish a deeper and wider relationship with the modern human world, with the wild modern human world, to just bring that back into presence. And, on my way driving up and down for many hours here from California to Washington State, I was listening to an audiobook which is called Light Eaters. And it was very clearly explained, that how our bodies are actually made out of the sugars and of the substances which are produced by the plants. And that plants are the primary species on this planet which made life possible for animals, because plants have produced the oxygen which we animals need in order to live, and they can basically transform the photons which are raining down from the sun onto the plant leaves, and they can basically transform those into sugars. And then we, ingest that, build our bodies out of that. It's amazing. So they are absolutely and utterly the primary species which has done incredible work, to bring life to where it is right now. And I have no doubt, by expanding our perception and by reconnecting with the fact, where we are really coming from, can help us to grow up and to evolve and open up to new ways of cooperating and coexisting with the modern human world on which we are so completely and utterly dependent. And then at the same time, as we are embarking together on this work, we encounter a lot of suffering, internally our own suffering, and externally seeing, what our cultures have been producing simply out of ignorance. And now, if we really want to grow and mature, we first need to take in what has been occurring and what we have been, setting into motion. Because without really, meeting that first, and the grief and the suffering and the sadness and everything, we will not be able to grow, because the maturation requires the metabolizing and the digesting of the repercussions of what has been done. So, how can we grow the courage and inner strength to not turn away from that, from the suffering of our own kin, the human kin and the animal kin and the more than human kin, the plants as well. And in that way, the grief can become a doorway to a greater connection and love. And many, many people have been speaking about this. In particular, Joanna Macy has developed the work that reconnects, and grief is the doorway. And, in the Buddhist teaching, I'd say the four Brahmaviharas, are the doorway into allowing things to be what they are. And through that allowing, we support a completion of a process, digesting and metabolizing, and then an integrating, and through the integration, a growth happens. Simply by creating the space so that our experience can be what it is and can complete itself. Because whatever, experience we have, it's going to be, of course, impermanent. We know that already. And even, if we meet in this work a lot of grief and sadness, if we give it the space and if we give it the attention it needs, it's going to change again. And through that maturation, there is a possibility to feel more and more connected and part of what is occurring, and no longer like as an outside observer. And, the practices which we are working here together on Wednesdays, they are exactly practices for that work. And it always starts with the grounding first. So, let us find a posture which we can sustain for about 45 minutes, and just start with a meditation. And every practice needs to start with grounding. Just noticing the body, the weight of the body on the cushion or on the chair. And allowing the breath to take you into the body. Sensing the weight, the gravity, gently showing us where we are coming from, where these bodies are coming from. And whatever, you're bringing today to this gathering, that's happened before you joined us today. For some of you, it's evening, and for others, it's morning time. And whatever you're bringing, it's here and it can be here. Even there might be like a sense of resistance to what you're feeling, and then allowing that resistance also to be here. Rather than, not really knowing what's happening, we know what's happening and it can be here. And with the out breath, gently sending down some roots into the soil underneath where we are sitting. And with the in-breath, breathing up the stability of the earth, the stillness, strength. And noticing, if the mind is wandering off into thinking about something, just noticing, the underlying current of that, the feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. If it's unpleasant, it most likely is aversion to that, and pleasant is greed, wanting more of that. Or just, simply ambling around. Just recognizing it, no need to judge it in any way, but just recognizing the power of feeling tone. As you're coming back to the body again and the weight of the body, the deep-rootedness of the body in the planet, making that, embeddedness an object for this meditation session. Which, is on the one hand, it's a samadhi practice, a practice of focusing on that. And on the other hand, it is also, building a new narrative in which we become more and more conscious of our deep embeddedness in the web of life, through study, through reading about it and hearing about it, but then also through slowly accumulative practice, also sensing that, listening into that through the body as an organ of listening. And it's built on the ancient practice of the elements. We've been doing many times before, and we do it from time to time again. That seems to be the portal into the recognition of our deep embeddedness. And whenever the mind wanders off, into thinking about something, we gently just bring it back and start again with the simplicity of that sensing practice of expanding capacity for perception. And trusting in the guidance of that intelligence. There's a lot of discussion, in scientific circles, if that is really an intelligence or not, because often intelligence is understood, to have something to do with an entity which has a brain, a central organ like a brain. And for example, plants don't have that. But from observation, we can see that they learn, they have memory, they adapt, they make decisions. That's all different qualities of intelligence. Even they don't have a brain, a central brain like us. So just, opening our minds to not be so stuck on comparing everything to ourselves. And if it is not like ourselves, it doesn't really count. This is driving us to extinction. This is not sustainable, this way of looking. We need to open up and of course, as we are doing this work, we're meeting a lot of undigested things. And sensing the embeddedness, the depth of this interconnectedness with the web of life, which nourishes us in so many ways. And those ways are so subtle that we really need to consciously turn our minds, our hearts, and our whole bodies as a sense organ towards it. So it can become slowly conscious. As the next evolutionary learning step for our species at this time. And the beauty of that, the awe of that, even if it is not easy, but it is awe-inspiring at the same time. And heart opening, mind opening. And just sensing that in the heart area, the center of the chest, sensing if you can feel a bit more space, if you let that sink in, those different perceptions. Can you sense a little more space coming from that? That's the response of the heart. And, breathing into that gently and allowing it to spread out throughout the whole body. With the, classic Metta phrase, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings have the circumstances so that they can start to sense into this new information, which is literally entering our form, widening and deepening our capacity for perception. As a natural growing by some of the old barriers just slowly, slowly melting away. Greater capacity for inclusion and diversity. And the dropping away of barriers. barriers of human-centric narratives. As we are maturing, in an opening to information we mightn't even have the language for. And this is why art often, is the best way in the beginning to articulate something which is emerging, new. Art and symbolism, metaphors, poetry. That's the first landing of the new. Then it starts to become integrated and gives birth to more mainstream ways of being articulated and becomes the next narrative until it needs to give way for the next one. This is the way things are. This is impermanence and constant change. And breathing into the heart area, the spaciousness. As we are meeting whatever is there with softness and gentleness and interest and precision. Precision as an expression of love, of wanting to be with in the service of growth and expansion of perception. May all beings have happiness and causes of happiness. knowing that all of life on this planet depends on plant life. 80% of life forms on this planet is plant life, which transforms the photons which are raining down on this planet from the sun into sugars, which we are all needing, to build our bodies. All of us. And once we are integrating that truth, it will change us. I have never thought about that much until recent. We are truly made out of light through the mediation of plants. This is awesome. In these different contemplations, they have an effect on us. They need to become more mainstream. Doesn't need to be complicated. So allowing that just to sink in by making the space for it. And if there's doubt coming up or confusion, that also can be allowed to have the space it needs. And allowing that, wish, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, allowing that to radiate out through the whole body, from the heart. And if you find that helpful, you can visualize that as a light, like a sun in the heart, which radiates through the body without any pressure and then radiating out in front of us. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And then radiating from the front also to one side. Behind us. And to the other side. Coming back to the front. Above and below. And sitting in an orb of Metta. Radiating in all directions without any pressure. And noticing the spaciousness and the subtle joy of a mind which is open and temporarily free from any hindrances, a temporary liberation of the mind through metta. In a sense of metta which comes from the recognition of our deep embeddedness in the web of life. That our bodies are made from light through the mediation of plants. Plants which are living on light, eating light through photosynthesis. Then we eat those plants and building these bodies. Body of the earth and our earth bodies. Coming to life through all of the gifts the plants are giving us, oxygen, sugars, everything we need to live here. We need to take care of the plant life, the forests, the trees, the Amazon as the lungs of the planet. We totally need them to stay. And as we allowing ourselves to more deeply sense this deep embeddedness, it will change us, will change our ethical considerations. It will change the way how we interpret the 5 precepts. It will mature us as a species. And it will have, lots of repercussions, and we don't really know, but we can get started. We just get started where we are and learn as we go along. We have never done anything different anyway. It's, the taking of the body of teaching and putting it in a different framework. It's like taking the teaching out of patriarchy and putting them in a different narrative. With all of the thoughts and feelings that might bring up for us. Is that allowed, actually? I think it is necessary. So in a minute or so, I'm gonna ring the bell